This week on Ask an Expert, the Internet. Welcome to Ask an Expert, the show where you submit questions to be answered by people around the school. I'm your host, Kieran Lanois. This week on Ask an Expert, our question is, how long would it take to read the whole internet? Here to answer our question is Mr. Bergen, our computer science teacher. Hello, Mr. Bergen. So, how long would it take for you to read the entire internet?
Well, that's a really interesting question, Kieran, and I did some research on that. My first initial thinking was that it would be impossible, that there'd be no way to do it. But I did some thinking about it and some research, and I read in The Atlantic that currently the estimate is about 1.8 billion websites that are out there that are unique.
Oh, wow.
So if you were to read one website every second, like the entire website, like the Washington Post or something like that, if you could do that once every second, it would take 57 years with just what's around currently.
Wow.
So by thinking about it, there's Flickr reports that 6,700 images are uploaded every second. So 1.8 billion images shared online just today.
Just today?
Just today.
Okay.
So when you think about how long it would take a human to read the internet, there's constantly things being added. So it's kind of a forever and never kind of answer.
Yeah, because
it couldn't be done by
as soon as you're done, one website, two kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and there's always content being added, especially with Twitter and Facebook and Imgur and lots of other more obscure sites that we don't always visit, but content is constantly being added, and that's a lot different from years past when the web wasn't as interactive.
Okay. So if you were going to calculate this time, like how would you, like what would be like the average way a human could read it by?
Well, I just took the numbers I had and then divided by 60 and 60 and 24 and 365, and that's what I came up with.
Oh, okay.
And as you know, like it's like counting 1 to a million. It takes a long time because you generally can't say a single number in a second for some of the longer ones.
Yeah.
And the website is the same way. Some websites have thousands of pages of content.
Yeah, and then some websites like New York Times would have like really complicated words, while other like cool math games would be like
and backstories, like they have archives going back 20 and 30 years. So it's really difficult to pin down hey, this is what the internet is, and say once I've read it, like inside of encyclopedias you could say, yeah, I finished that. I don't know why you would, but you could do that, but certainly not the internet. It's just such a diverse and ever-expanding thing.
Well, on the subject of the internet, how has the internet changed since you were in high school?
Well, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Oh my!
When I was in high school, the internet didn't actually exist. I first used, and there was parts of the internet that did, the things that we could recognize as the internet. When I was in university, my first year in 1991, one of my professors had us work with email, and we helped tutor a class in Finland, grade 9 students. We helped edit their work. So they emailed us stuff, we would look at it, and then email it back. And in that year, I used the first version of Netscape Mosaic, which was the first web browser.
Oh, wow.
So what it did is it combined all sorts of content from FTP servers and Gopher servers and all these things that like, wow, what's he talking about? All this stuff into like something you would recognize as the internet.
Okay.
So web pages started to come online, and then search engines like Netscape and Bing in its first sort of instances, and Google eventually started to categorize those things to make it easier for you to get around. And let's face it, the internet in its infancy was a blinking, spinning mess for most pages. So, epilepsy-inducing on some sites. Yeah.
So when the internet was more like kind of getting into our kind of recognition like Google and stuff, like how dependent were students to that? Like, were there computers being added to the school and...
Yeah, well, not so much, let's put it that way, because again, handheld devices weren't the same thing. You used a handheld device to phone people, not to like check your fantasy league points or snap people or keep a streak going with that. So yeah, it was a lot different. They were more compartmentalized. So if I wanted to do research, I could find stuff using Gopher searches and doing grad research studies. Some people who are a little less computer savvy would have had a lot more difficulty in those days, especially since a lot of them were text-based, because the computers didn't have enough oomph to handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So probably most likely computers were running at like snail speed when you were first getting into it.
Yeah. When my first modem for a computer I had was 2800 baud. So that means 2K per second, whereas now you can download 1.5 up to 3 megabytes per second. So yeah, I've seen a lot of change in my time. Let me tell you. Yeah.
I thought Yahoo Answers was old.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow. Yeah. There's a really interesting way you can look at what the web used to look like. It's called the Wayback Machine. You just Google that, and it shows you snapshots of what web pages look like in that time. It has an archive. It's also a good way to fact check what certain orange-haired politicians might say at times that they say they didn't say. So the Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine. That's cool. Now, today, how dependent and how needing is the internet to our like education?
Ooh, there's a loaded question. I think like anything, it's a tool. It allows you to have access to information that you wouldn't have had access to if you didn't have internet access. Same as like your device in your pocket. It's a really powerful computer that enables you to find all sorts of information, but it also enables you to play Candy Crush and a cookie clicker for hours at a time, right? So both of them are interesting uses of the internet, and one is a more legitimate use for school. And so when you ask if we're dependent on it, yeah, I would say most of us are dependent on our technology. Electricity is a technology, right? And if it went away, we would have a lot more difficulty. And the internet is just one of those tools.
So is the internet slowing kids down from reading outside, playing, actually interacting face-to-face with other people?
Tough question. There's lots of research that says exactly what you're saying. And there's lots of research that says, no, it isn't doing that at all. So take your pick. I say a healthy balance is not a bad thing. Being, internet conscious and computer savvy, yeah, that's great, but you still need to get outdoors. You're not going to die of carpal tunnel syndrome in your basement, right? So
probably not. With
the Xbox controller welded to your hand.
Oh, God. PS3 for me.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm a PlayStation user.
Okay.
So.
No offense.
It's okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Bergen, for coming. I hope this answered everybody's answer about how long it takes to read the internet and follow-up questions on how the internet has changed our modern persona. So thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome. It's good to be here. Hopefully I did answer your questions and many more.
Many more questions. I think I kind of helped destroy your job a little bit.
No, I'm all good. Thanks.
Okay. That's it for this week's Ask an Expert, but we're always looking for new questions. Tweet them at @PACarleton with the hashtag #AskAnExpert, and we'll find someone who can answer it for you. See you next week.